Hello and welcome to Banking Frontiers Live. We are in a world of Web 3.0. We are talking about blockchains, we are talking about tokenization, we are talking about metaverse, we are talking about virtual reality, and a whole lot of things that are going to drive us to the next generation of technology and the ease of business. I am talking to a very interesting entrepreneur today who has been tokenizing one of the most physical asset that is of dearer to most of us, and that is the real estate. This company is called as RealX, which was conceptualized somewhere in 2016, took some shape in 2018, and finally they did all the R&D to bring out a real transaction into the world of real estate tokenization. Friends, join me in welcoming Mr. Manish Kumar, who is the founder and CEO of RealX. Manish, welcome to Banking Frontiers Live.
Thank you, Babu. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. So, Manish, can you just tell me something about evolution of this idea and how exactly are you bringing this concept to practical life?
That's a very loaded set of questions. So let me try to take a step back and see if I can outline the journey of RealX, as well as how did we evolve during our journey into the solution that we can offer today. First, the inspiration. The inspiration really was, I went to a mall one day and I started wondering, why can't I have access to invest in something like this? So that was the inspiration behind we getting up there and trying to build something that can enable this to happen. And people across all economic capacities are able to participate. This is our level 2 product. Our first level product was registered co-ownership, where essentially a single registrant used to go and register on behalf of all the people who are investing in a property. There was COVID period created a huge crypto wave. In the co-ownership model also, we used to record such co-ownership on blockchain, but we did not issue any tokens to in the hands of the customers. Why? Because it was very vitiated environment, if I may use the word, where every token was a get rich quick token. So we didn't want to launch tokens in that kind of an uncertain environment. So it very much happened that our weight kind of fructified in government curbing down that that speculative token craze, as well as government also enabled notification saying that transfer of NFTs which are based on tangible assets will not come under the crypto tax. So on the one side, they curbed all the speculative assets. On the other hand side, they enabled innovation to happen. So last year, when the government issued those that notification, that's when our work really began. Took slightly more than the time that we expected, but I'm pretty happy with the result that we have been able to put everything together, and yes, still have the claim that we are probably the first one in the world to have issued tokens with direct beneficial rights over the property.
Wonderful. So that was the tipping point. Now let's come from that tipping point to the reality of life. Real estate is one of the most touted assets. It has been there for ages, and it is also shadowed by a lack of trust many a times. On one side, it is a very lucrative asset. On the other side, it is very immovable. Cracking into pieces and selling it from in the form of token is not an easy job. The third is coming in terms of trust. So how have you worked an ecosystem of trust around this to give that satisfaction to the customer who is having a fractional ownership of this product and make him understand that, hey, this is here to stay and it is for your own, and especially in a world where it is coexisting with the physical asset?
You're right that real estate as a sector, instantly the response is low trust sector. This is something that that we are also very aware of, that we may be able to do a lot of things at our end, but there is definitely a trust and a risk element that comes from the real estate being the asset class itself. Can we completely remove that trust factor or the challenges of real estate from our equation? No, this is real estate. However, I will tell you a few things that change when you invest, digitally, and when you do investments in real estate, let's say through tokens. First is, we don't propose any of the investors to invest a heavy amount in one property. That is one. So there is a portfolio approach that we envisage that we will be able to persuade our investors to follow. They should be investing across various property types, property stages, locations. So there is a very interesting mix of property that they create a portfolio on. Now, chances, whatever we may say to real estate, I think it's not that bad that on a portfolio level you will be very, very bad looking on real estate. I think it will still be way better than equity portfolio at any point in time, given that the asset is stable. This is on our side of the story. The other side is this sector is getting better organized because of RERA. If you see our incorporation, it is just pre-RERA. So we started thinking about it incorporated, just when RERA was going to be established. That was the premise, that once we have a real estate regulator, biggest of the cases were around delivery of asset for under construction. That challenge has been taken over by RERA. And a lot of judgments have come in wherein the consumers have also been favored and given precedence over bankruptcy filings, over creditors, and RERA has been able to transition stuck projects from one developer to another. So I think we are moving towards a more organized sector approach.
Interesting. So one is, of course, the kind of stability and trust that you are looking towards, which RERA has provided. And on the other side, you have created a lot more system around it with your tokenization and, the trust that you have built around. So I'm listening to a lot of, Web 3.0 companies, tokenization companies coming in the real estate in different parts of the world, not just in India. Okay. How do you propose to be a little different than any of these offerings that are there? Okay. And now that you have done few transactions, you have experience under your belt, what is the kind of differentiating factor that you plan to bring across?
When we set out to implement fractional ownership, we didn't want to pursue the age-old method that almost everyone follows, which is creating an SPV structure and holding the property inside that SPV. This is the structure that is prevalent from India to the US to everywhere. So something more than the regulation worry, we really wanted to figure out a way that if people are investing in properties, can we give them property and not a security? That's the best way to investor protection, that he is protected even from action or inaction of RealX in that sense. And that is exactly what we have established. In some sense, we feel isolated because we are the only one entity which has a different model, and everyone else has the same model. So, but then we pursued that, and I'm happy that we have been able to establish something different, which gives better rights in favor of the investors.
Interesting. So one important aspect of any of this tokenization is the governance and control. That is the place by which, people get trust in your product. So what kind of unique governance mechanism and control mechanism have you put in to build that trust?
Let me give you some perspective. And I think, Babu, you have gone to many of the conferences and you would know the core of the real world digital asset discussions are all revolving around how to make it legal. A few months back, once we knew that we will be able to establish that, this question exactly struck us that, once we create a digital asset, which is the digital incorporation of the real world asset, which is a property, that property is now going to live in the digital world. And those changes could not have been, authorized or incorporated by RealX itself. So the first thing that we had to institute was a mechanism inside the token architecture itself that has a governance model, at least in terms of framework discussion, which takes away rights from RealX itself. However, the framework in terms of the entities or the organization of that will be governing it, etc., will be promulgated in some time, and the whole thing will kind of start taking shape.
Wonderful. And one of the most important thing is communication to the ultimate audience that, hey, we are here to stay. This is a trust that is going to be built between the builder with the tokenization company and with the government and the legal entities. So how are you communicating this or reaching into the larger audience now?
This is one of the biggest challenge because, as I said, the atmosphere that people had developed with the word crypto was what comes to light is, making money, more money on an everyday basis. And in that environment, we interestingly found that one of the challenges that we anticipated is not coming up. And that challenge is questions around blockchain. All the questions that we receive are on real estate asset. And I'm very glad to share that the people themselves are seeing it as real estate. They are discussing real estate. They are discussing the returns. They are discussing the location. The usual questions that you would ask for real estate when you go and buy the full property is exactly what is being asked us when we are going for a fractional property.
And my question is in terms of dispute resolution. When there comes a dispute, where is it that the customer can ultimately go to? Is it the courts, or is it to the tokenization company, or is it to the builder, or how does one actually solve that spaghetti of dispute?
Yeah, so in our case, the customers will have a right to grievance redressal first. So we will have a grievance redressal officer, like any other intermediary platform is required to do. As we build on, more capacities, we will ourselves have the first port of redressal, built in. If the customers are unhappy, they, by very nature of, law, they have the rights to go to courts.
Great. And is RERA also involved in this, or RERA is a separate entity in itself? Will it be involved?
Yeah, RERA is involved to the extent that when we do under construction properties, our investors as a group have the same pari passu protection that that a single individual investors for under construction property gets from RERA.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Manish, and wish you all the success on the first transaction as well as the number of transactions to come for RealX platform in the near future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Babu. Thank you very much for having me.